bit. But first, before I get in, I've got 4 points that I really want to share with you, but I have a couple of things that I'd like to help bring that in. And I remember when I first got started, I had actually and Kim, and I went for health reasons, and that was the whole reason that I went. I had no intentions of being an entrepreneur or anything of that nature. But after about 4 weeks of and a 30-pound loss of weight, and things are looking good, it's kind of funny. I said, you know what? I'm sending all these people that's asking what I'm doing. I'm sending them to Sean and Kim. I said, I'm not real smart, but I'm not dumb either. So I said, I'm going to do something about this. And my wife and I, we decided to get in. But what had to happen to me, and I believe this is something that we all need to do, is number one, we have to have a made up mind that we want to change in our life, that we want to go to another level, that we're tired of the status quo. I know myself, being disabled, I was used to working and making the money that I wanted to make. And, being disabled, I wasn't able to do that anymore. And kind of made me feel bad sometimes, that my wife was out working and I couldn't contribute the way that I wanted to. But I had some other things in life that I wanted to do. Health-wise, when I came to Sean, I told him I wanted to be there for my grandchildren. And so that was one of my really, really driving things that made me want to do what I was doing. So I had a made-up mind when I decided to go into the business. I had a made-up mind that, hey, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to just sit on the sidelines. I want to get out and do something. And here's an opportunity because it's working for me. And I had that purpose and I had that vision. You have to have a vision. There's no way, whether you're spiritual or not, it goes to everybody. Anybody that doesn't have a vision or a purpose, you're going to die. In other words, you're going to dry up on the vine. You're not going to be able to accomplish much. So you got to have a purpose and a vision. And that's what was driving me. I had found something that had helped me so much, that had done so much for me, my wife, and my dad. My wife, she's lost 50 pounds. My dad's, he'll be 83 Wednesday. He's lost 50 pounds. Just a few weeks ago, he was out and cut down like a 70-foot pine tree by himself, cut it up and got rid of it, So it's just, I've seen so much. I've seen it do so much, and it's helped me. And so I found out that was my purpose and my vision, was to help people. And that's what I've always wanted to do. But one of the first points that we've got to be able to have is we've got to be happy and we've got to be excited. We have a product here that can help people. It's proven itself time and again. It's not something that you have to sell. It sells itself. So there's all kind of reasons to be excited. It didn't take much, after 4 weeks with me, and losing 30 pounds in that length of time. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I'm excited. So it wasn't hard for me to share that. But when you're happy and excited, it's contagious. It's just like when you bring somebody in,
Did we lose Earl?
All right. I think Earl will be right back, guys. It looks like maybe he accidentally hit the button or something. Let's just give him a second.
Sean, if he if anything like that happens, can you jump in between?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, if you can see this crowd real quick, guys, everybody wave, say hello. We're going to go around this way. So this is part of our local team getting together this afternoon. We're working on dream boards. We're fixing to eat a bunch of awesome food and meat. So I didn't catch the last couple minutes of what Earl was saying. But guys, I can tell you, part of Earl's story is the fact that he's got over 200 customers, and he did that simply by sharing the love, just sharing. Here he comes. He just joined in. Just by sharing his personal experience and just loving on people and meeting them where they're at, not trying to stretch them and make them jump out to be something that they're not trying to force anything down anybody's throat or chasing them through Walmart, joining the NFL club. That's the No Friends Left club, right? Earl didn't do any of that. Earl just has been Earl. And so, Earl, if you're back on, I'm going to throw the ball back to you, brother.
Yeah, I'm here. I had to put do not disturb on my phone. I had a call break me off there. But anyway,
hey Earl, I set it up to where when people enter, it's automatically going to mute them out. So if you ever get disconnected again, you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay. All right.
The last thing we heard is you have to be excited.
Yes, we have to be excited, and I can assure you, if you're a customer yourself and you use the product yourself, there's no way that you cannot be excited. There's no way that you can't share. And the other thing that it goes into after you're happy and excited is when you share that story that you have, and even if you've just started, there are so many stories out there that you can use, and there's so many people that you can reach with different stories. We seem to think sometimes that we're all about weight loss, but we're not about weight loss. That's not the whole purpose of what we have here and what we do. Our whole purpose is to reach people, to touch people, and to help elevate people. And there are so many things that it does. I know for myself, I had dealt with a lot of depression, especially not being able to work. And so I have a story about how it helped my depression. I have a story about how it helped my weight and those kind of things. And it's just been amazing. So there's stories out there. I've shared Sean and Kim's story that they have, and sometime you need to hear that one. That's a really good story also. But when you share from your heart and you share things that's real, this is what makes the difference in people. This is what makes people want to buy into who you are and what you are. And when they see you focused on that you're becoming a better person in yourself, people notice that. Now, I've never had a problem really talking to people and being an entertainer and that kind of stuff. I'm in front of people a lot, so I kind of know how to talk to people. But sometimes you lose focus. You lose focus on your purpose that I was talking about a little earlier. So when we get to that point that we're seeing the whole picture and we're not focused on something, this can actually be detrimental. It's like trying to live a life that you're trying to satisfy everybody. How many knows you can't do that? You can't satisfy everybody. And there's no way that you can focus on 14 different things at one time and give it everything that you got. So you got to focus on what I was talking about a while ago, your purpose and your vision. You have to focus on that. And that comes from being able to share who you are, and what you have felt from these products and from the whole culture that we are in with this. I hate to use the word business because it's more family than it is business. And I found that out this weekend firsthand, or this past week. We was at a retreat, and the stories that were shared there was just unbelievable, and the testimonies that was given. But like I said, the second point there was to share the stories. Then we need to share our product. How do we share our product? We don't want to be somebody that's overbearing. We don't want to be that person that's just, all the time talking about, well, you need to try my coffee. You need to try my coffee. We need to use an example of ourselves. We need to be the example. I go into a restaurant, which I'm pretty much there every morning. I go to different restaurants and drink coffee. So I bring in my little pouches there, my individual pouches, and people ask you, and I wear my button that I have. And so you attract people by doing things that make people curious. So they see me opening up my little pack, I'm putting it in my cup, and somebody from another table said, well, what's that, Earl? I said, this is my happy coffee. And they look at me like I'm crazy, which pretty much I am. But they say, what are you talking about? What's a happy coffee? I said, well, it's a coffee that I drink that really helps me a lot. It's helped me in my health and that kind of thing. And before you know it, they're talking to you. So I hand them one, right here, let me fix you one. So there's all kind of little ways that you can do that. That little button that we wear a lot of times. I had a guy tell me one day, he says, I can't believe you wear a pink looking button on your shirt. He said, that really looks basically unmasculine. I said, well, I'll tell you what, it puts more money in my bank account than what you're wearing. I can tell you that right now. So he said, what are you talking about? So the very guy that was, it was a negative response to start with, turned out being a positive response. So it's being unique and putting off, how would you put it? You're putting off that you're doing something out of the norm. They see you putting that in your coffee. Most people come in, they grab a sugar canister and a milk canister, and that's what they put in their coffee. You know, so here you are opening up a pack, fixing up your own coffee. That's something different. It makes them ask questions. I have found that being unique in our presentation of how we use the coffee and that kind of thing is really been beneficial to me. It's helped me to gain a lot of customers. Now, I'm not saying you got to be way off the wall, but each of us have a uniqueness to start with. Each of us have something about us that's what we're known for. Now, I've I've been called a lot of things, and crazy seems to be the one that sticks to it. People know I'm a little blunt, little straightforward, if you would like to call it that. And that's unique to me. That's what I do. That's how I am. I don't hurt people's feelings or nothing, but I'm just really straight up about things, and I'm really open about myself. I share a lot of myself if people want to know about it. And so that's a uniqueness that I use when I share the product and when I share my story. And when I'm happy and excited, when I can share that with people, it excites them. And they can relate to the stories, because somewhere along the line, they can relate to what their issues is and what their problems have been. You know, that's what it's all about. You got to draw them in. We had a class on attraction marketing, and there's all kind of ways to attract people. Number one, you're going to attract people that are common to you. Most of my customers came to start with because they're people that are common with me. They're on the same wavelength that I'm on. It's a pretty short wavelength, but am I echoing y'all out there? Okay.
I got to
But
take it.
all right. But after we share our products, the most important thing out of these 4 points, first is to be happy and to be excited. Number 2 is to share our stories, or whatever stories that we need to share from other people to relate to people. We need to share our products, but we need to follow our connect method. Now, I was one, because things went so good for me to start with, bringing in customers. I kind of had the idea, well, I really don't need to do that. I'm accomplishing a lot. I'm able to add a lot of customers. So to start with, I didn't use the connect method. And Sean and Kim kept telling me, you really need to do that. But, I said, well, I've kind of got a handle on this, and I can kind of do it the way that I want to. But let me share this with you. Once I started doing that, I found out that the success came even quicker, and it had more of a foundation because of validation. We build a stronger foundation with validation. You can talk all you want to, and you can share with people, and there's going to be people out there when you've already used up your resources of people that you know personally, you kin people, your friends, and you start reaching out to other people. You don't have the relationship with them that you have with your close circle that you started with. And I heard somebody had a question about connect method, and this is the third party validation. This is what we're talking about. Say I run into Sean somewhere, and we're talking about it, and I say, you know what, we have this happy coffee, and I share a little bit with him, and he starts to ask me a few questions about it. And I said, I'll tell you what, and this is an example they gave me. I said, let me tell you something. I know some folks, that can answer those questions a lot better than I do, that know a lot more about what you want to know. Let me hook you up with them. And I put them on hold, and I'll hit and call. I'll call Chris or somebody else like that, and I bring in a third party to validate what I'm saying. And this gives validation that, I'm just not listening to Earl, but here's this other guy, that's sharing the same story and sharing his story, and it makes it more believable. People today are very skeptical. There's been so many things out there, and when you can get that validation going on, this is when you can help build a foundation right there that can move these people into being customers or being entrepreneurs. But you've got to have a foundation. And I believe that connect method, the third party validation, is something that is very critical in building this business. My business grew very quickly, and when I hit I guess you'd call a lull, I got in a slow spot. I kept wondering, well, now wait a minute, what's going on? And I remember, Sean and them telling me about, you need to connect people. They need to feel connected. And it's not just about a business connection. It's building a relationship with these people. They've already know two people. Once you do the connect or third-party validation, they know you, and now they've heard from someone else. And so they feel like, hey, so they're sharing with me, and they have something in common with us. This helps them to grasp on and say, like, I want that too. I want to try that, since, a couple of people have tried it and they're validated in what you're talking about. So once we get to that point where we can share and that we can validate, this is when your business will grow. And there's no stopping this business, I can tell you now. I look at the future of what's ahead of us in this company and in this team and the people that's out there working together. Folks, there's no stopping this. These 4 points: be happy or excited, sharing those stories, sharing those products, and using the connect method. If you haven't been using that, it is critical to tie all that other together and to have that foundation that we need to work off of. Now, I want to go back a while ago. Those are the 4 points there, but I want to go back to having focus on what we're doing. Have you ever been driving down the road and you're going down the interstate and there's 3 lanes of traffic, and you happen to see something over here on your left-hand side? Somebody in that car is doing something and you're watching them. Next thing you know, you're scooting right over towards that car. That's because your focus changed. Your focus wasn't in front of you. Your focus was off to the left, or it was off to the right. So you're going to find yourself, if you're not focused on what we're doing and you're not focused on trying to build this business the right way, you're going to find out that you're going to veer to the left or you're going to veer to the right, and you're going to get off course. So we have to keep that focus on what we're doing. Now, how do we keep that focus? That focus is through training. It's through our meetings that we have on Monday nights, Tuesday night, whatever night that they have them all through the week. Sometimes, if you've been in the business a while, it gets, well, I'm going to hear the same thing. No, you're not. And I relate that to being a musician. There was a time, especially when you're starting to move up in the music business, that kind of thing, you look at other people and, well, they're not quite as good maybe as me, so I'm not really going to pay attention to this band up there. But I found out one thing: no matter what level that musician's at, I have found that if I pay attention to what they're doing something that I can glean from what they are doing that I can add to what I'm doing that's going to make me better than I am. And that's the same way in this business. If we listen to these meetings on Monday nights and Tuesday nights, and like I said, whatever night there are, these Saturday trainings, and we hear testimonials and we hear people sharing, we're going to be able to glean from them something that we can look back on our business and, wait a minute, I think that'll work in my business. I tell you what, it happens to me every time. There's not a meeting or a phone call that I have been on that I have not picked up something that I can use in my business to help lift me up and to help me go forward and to be better. And I found that what this also would do, I was told this in the music business also, and I like to relate to it because it's what I do. When you bring in somebody or you're playing with people that are better than you, it's going to make you work harder. Now, in my band, we started, there came a time when we were working major acts. We were opening shows for just about anybody. It was everybody. And it's not a bragging thing, but I mean, from Charlie Daniels to Alan Jackson, I've worked with all of them. Let me assure you, when you step on a stage to open a show for these kind of people, you're bringing your A game. You're not coming up there half-cocked and not ready. And so when I get around these other people that are in this business, like this weekend at this leadership meeting we had, I felt like I was at the bottom of the totem pole, because they was people there that knew stuff I had no idea. And as I began to listen, I began to glean, I began to take from that, and I brought that back with me. But I've also learned that if I listen to those phone calls and those calls that we do during the week, somebody says something every time, and it makes me say, I can be a lot better than I am. The reason I'm where I'm at is because this is where I have decided to stop. This is where I've made a decision. You know, I'm going to sit here a while. Well, let me tell you something. It's you that stops you. You're the only one that can motivate yourself. You need to, there's people that can speak to you. There's people that can get on these calls and share what they're doing and excite you in that way. But you are the only one that can motivate yourself by taking the tidbits from everybody else and taking what's being poured into you and putting it into action. You can write all the notes you want to. You can watch all the videos you want to. But until it goes into action, folks, that's what's going to change you. And following these points, a program that's already been set up, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Be happy, be excited. Let's share those stories. Let's share those products. And let's use our Connect method. And if there's questions about that Connect method, there are so many people that you can get in touch with that can help you. You can call me anytime you want or text me. Chris, Shweta, Sean, and Kim, right on up the line. There's people that will help you. This business is built on these principles. And we had a class on principles, and if there was time, I would ask Sean to say something about that. But there's no need to reinvent this, folks. Let's take it and let's run with the ball. We've been given the ball. We're in a good position on the field. And so this is where we need to run from. We need to grab it. And I'll repeat them one more time. Be happy or excited. You share those stories, whether it's yours or somebody else's. You share those products and use that third-party validation, that Connect method. If you follow this, you're going to be successful, folks, because what we have here in our hand is basically a gift that we've been given. And it has made a tremendous difference in my life. Health-wise, I've lost 69 pounds. I went from a 52 waist to a 38 waist, and I'm able to come off my meds because of my body being able to do what it's supposed to do. And like I said, I've seen it help my family and many others. And so I hope that you've got something this morning. Let me share the other 4 points real quick if you want to write them down. It says you need to have a made-up mind. You need to have purpose and vision. You need to have focus. And you need to raise the bar on yourself. Don't wait for your upline to say you need to do it. You need to raise the bar on yourself. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Raise your own expectations. Raise the bar on yourself. Get off our behinds and do something about what we want. See, I told you I'm a little blunt. And I have to preach this to myself every day because I tend to get complacent sometimes. But no, get off your backside. You have everything you need. Everything's been poured into you. It's out there, and all we have to do is do it. Chris, out there, buddy, if you want to take it, or Sean or somebody, that's pretty much what I have to share. If there's questions that we need to try to answer, you out there, Chris?
Yes, sir. Great job, Earl. Appreciate you, buddy. Of course, my phone's going to ring while I go merge over. But again, thank you so much, Earl, for sharing. Guys, what it really boils down to when you start this business is all out massive excitement. And when you hear Earl talk about it, and when you get to know Earl and you realize and you wonder, like, how in the world did this guy get 200 customers? He's just sharing and talking to people. He's just basically, he has the excitement. And when you have excitement, people want that excitement. They're like, I don't know what the hell Earl's doing, but I want in because I want to be like that, right? And the only thing we didn't really touch on tonight is this morning on Facebook, don't go posting your links and posting a bunch of stuff that's, you want to interest create. You don't want to basically kill people with a bunch of spam on your Facebook page. I never post any links. I never post any I don't even show pictures of what the coffee is because I don't want people to go searching out and looking on Amazon or whatever else, even though it is more expensive on Amazon. We don't want people doing all that stuff and trying to come up with a natural logical conclusion on their own without knowing the facts. So what you want to do is, the only thing we didn't talk about was the add, tag, and message format. And what that boils down to is, when you're talking to somebody, see, Earl's sharing a story. But if they don't buy right then and there, you want to tie them into other people's stories as well. And how do you do that? You add them to the group page. And many teams have different customer groups. But we also have, my wife's saying you're screaming. We also have the Team Rise community that you can tag people in there. And if you know they're talking about fibromyalgia, tag them in the fibromyalgia post. You could do a search in those groups and then tag them in there. And then the way that you connect in that method, like Earl was talking about, is maybe in a messenger thread. So you might put them in a messenger thread together with that person if they start asking questions. But most people, when they're looking at what it is that we're doing and they're seeing all these stories, people are like, you know what, if it worked for Earl like that, if it worked for Sean like that, if it worked for Julie, if it worked for Gene, if it worked for this person, it's going to Julie's saying I always yell. So that's funny. And I am, because I talk very loud. So the bottom line is that it works for everyone. If they see these stories, they're going to say, you know what, I want to try this product. And then they end up recruiting themselves just like Earl did. So with that, that's really the only thing I wanted to touch up. Earl basically covered it, guys. This is a simple conversation. We're talking about coffee. Have you heard about the happy, like, say, for instance, if somebody, you know, he shared, like, if he's sitting at the coffee shop and he's adding coffee, but if somebody says, what do you do? Or if somebody's talking to you about just whatever and you're bringing it up and you're asking them about them, and then they say, well, what do you do? Well, have you heard about the happy coffee everyone's been talking about? And then boom, then you just go into the story just like what Earl shared. So guys, if you can ask the question, do you know anybody drinks coffee? Have you ever heard of the happy coffee everyone's been talking about? And then tag them in a group, send them a link, ahappydose.com, and let the 3-minute video do the work for you, and then connect them to somebody else just like how Earl shared. So thank you so much, Earl. Appreciate everything you added. I know you asked Sean McLean, I don't know if he was going to add something or not, but if not, everybody have an incredible day. Again, thank you so much, Earl, for jumping on here and doing this. And I will talk to you guys later. Everybody have an awesome Saturday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. Thanks.
Awesome
Thanks,
job,
Earl.
Bye.
Y'all welcome.